Welcome to this edition of Mindset Profits, and we are back to talking profit. And today we are covering a topic that many entrepreneurs have given up on, many entrepreneurs have found frustrating, and this is tendering. I'll tell you from personal experience, I've tried it backfired until I said I will never do this again. 3 years later, someone challenged me to try just one more time, and fortunately it worked out. I tasted that money and said, I will never be the same again. So I hope that becomes your experience. But what we want today is to talk tendering with someone who has shared quite a lot about tendering on social media, someone who has some amazing reviews, and someone who has gone that extra step and created a masterclass for entrepreneurs who want to do this thing right, who want to do this thing to win bids. Welcome, Lerato.
Hi, Ntando. Thank you so much for having me. What a powerful introduction. Thanks.
It's great to have you. The last time we had you was on radio, and there you dropped some powerful nuggets. And one of the things I remember was that you decided to start masterclasses on tendering. Talk to us a bit about those.
Sure. Well, for those who don't know who I am, I'm Lerato Sebata. I go by the name Procurement, aka Tender Lady.
The Tender Lady.
Yeah, some of them, 2000 says also I'm a tender. So, I am procurement expert, specialist, professional, whatever that suits you, and a business coach. So I'm passionate about educating entrepreneurs to learn how to do business and gain access to corporates. And that is obviously through procurement. A lot of times, most of them fail in knowing what are the requirements, the necessities, the due diligence, preparation basically, right? So the master classes come about that type of education. Okay. It is on various topics, yeah.
All right, so are you going to be running them continuously every year? Is this something that entrepreneurs should look forward to?
Yeah, every quarter I have an online masterclass or a workshop on different topics pertaining to how to win tenders, how to bid, pricing your services, business growth, writing proposals, including for funding. A lot of times people don't know how to write a proper proposal, right? So it is on various topics. My first one was on try business again, right? People who
that's nice.
It was such a powerful one, and it gained such a big momentum. And I figured that actually a lot of people want this information, but because I teach it in a way that is understandable for the entrepreneurs, I think that's what making it more, interesting. And the language we use, for one, to be able to demystify what corporates are looking for, because it can be overwhelming when you receive a big tender document. Similarly, like the first time you see a contract, right?
Yeah.
You do get overwhelmed. What do they want? The terminologies that I think procurement teams don't really take into account. Someone who does not know, has never been in the tendering space, they wouldn't naturally understand what are some of these terms. What are some of the requirements? No one explains, 80-20 principle. What is it about? Where does it come from? I just want to price my services. And that's not what the organization is looking for. So I just come in a way, I just meet the needs of the corporates to be able to interpret the document. And then yourself as an entrepreneur who wants to do business, now you understand what do they want. And then you can be able to submit your bid accordingly.
Beautiful. Your experience is in procurement. Is this public sector or private sector, or you worked across both?
Both. So I have now about 16 years of work experience in the supply chain, which includes manufacturing, telecoms, and networking, financial services, and also public sector and private. I have worked for SABC at some point. So I really, really do get, and different categories and commodities in our terminology. So all rounder, to be fair. I've also done work in Africa, so West Africa, Ghana, Cameroon, and Benin. So also there's that, including Tanzania actually. So even Tanzania, and I worked for multinational. So I really do understand at the multinational level, African, including South African. So I've only just touched a small snitch. I haven't even done Africa content, right? And so that's my experience in the space, and I do appear in a couple of platforms also.
I didn't know about the Africa part. And one thing I said at the radio station in our last interview was, when you speak about this, it does shine through.
Is it?
This sister knows her story.
Thank you. That's a compliment. Thank you.
All right, so let's talk to our entrepreneurs, because our community is a community of entrepreneurs. And what I want by the end of this show is a lot of them to realize that even if you've got your business, tendering can be an additional revenue stream. So let's encourage those that have given up on this.
So my first interview I did with SABC was, how does one get onto tendering in supplying? Because that's probably seemingly the simpler, the basic less complex, right? Yeah. And SABC news, to be clear. So, and what are the things people need to look out for to not miss the tender or even not be scammed, right? Because obviously there's a lot of
good questions.
Yeah. So supply and deliver has been one of the popular ways to start tendering for someone who's inexperienced, for people who just want opportunities and just want to start doing some side hustle. And to be fair, it could be interpreted like that, yes, right? And we've seen also with COVID, supply and deliver of,
that popped up
big and all of that, yeah. So I think before, that's what we can say you can look into as an entrepreneur. But now things have changed. A lot of requirements have changed now. There's a lot of regulation within the supply chain in you providing service. And also the danger is it's very saturated, without discouraging people. It is easy to supply water and tea and coffee, right? I mean, it's clear scope. You want too many quantities, you just go and source.
Buy here, and then supply there.
Yeah, but now for you to come out on top, it becomes more difficult. And that's where the value of what I offer comes in. For you now to not be the next best someone who's already done it already, you don't have experience, what is going to be different about you? And that's where most of them start hitting these bottlenecks to say, but I have my BEE, I have my CIPC, I have my tax compliance, but I still don't get bids. It's what are you supplying? How are you positioning yourself for yours to be different and unique? And which client are you looking into?
Okay, so even when there is a pool of competition, the aim should always be to let your bid stand out.
To let your bid stand out, which also speaks to how you have positioned your business, right? No one wants to work with jack of all trade and to be a general dealer. So I'm saying, if you want to provide, let's say, supply stationery, you want to supply uniforms, and then you want to supply gas, you want to now supply Coke, you must decide where you stand, right? You can't be jack of all trades.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what procurement teams also look into. When they ask for a profile, when they look at your requirements as a business, what do you offer? It still needs to make sense in terms of what is required. If you are in the food business, if you are into, supply of maybe beverages and catering, it makes sense. So and then you have positioned your business as a food catering business. So whatever else that comes in, then it fits in the pocket. But now if you're going to be going to do construction, and then, but under one company, it's just becoming suspicious. And then you obviously start losing that credibility. So you still have to make sure, that's why business complements each other. When you do branding and marketing, you still need to be sure that I'm building this brand and I'm known for this and I'm good at this. Then if you need to create subsidiaries of something else, you grow it as you grow, but it must complement each other. Now others want to tender for travel services, want to tender for cleaning, want to tender for construction, for security. You must decide. So the opportunities become less and less and less in that manner.
Okay. Do these different types of tenders that a company pops up get picked up somewhere if I'm tendering with different municipalities? Am I at a disadvantage, or this municipality won't know that I bid for construction that side?
No, that's not an issue. You can bid obviously for different services. What it is an issue is surprisingly people who would want to open two different businesses. You are the director and you are bidding to the same client and the same tender, just so that you think that you can have two chances. That is in fact red flag. You'll be blacklisted for that one, in fact, if they see it.
Okay, that's interesting. Now, when you look at from your experience working with this, what are the top three? What would you consider some of the three biggest mistakes that entrepreneurs make when they are submitting their bids? Things that get them kicked out or not considered?
Three biggest mistakes.
I know there's 20.
So many.
These. Yeah.
I don't even know if it's the top hierarchy or priority. But in procurement, you look at everything holistically, right?
All right.
So the common mistakes that are there, it is people who don't price for everything. And they think just because they offer the lower price, then they will make it to the bid, right? If you have priced low, just so that you can get in and over time maybe increase the price, that might work against you, because even during the evaluation, if it did not cost for everything and it did not accounted for everything else, then it doesn't necessarily mean that you'll get the bid right. So you have to price correctly.
So the evaluators will look at your breakdown to see, did this person include everything?
Yes. So I mean, evaluation team comprises of different specialties and SMEs that come into the space. So someone who's responsible for financial due diligence and price, they have to look at what the scope requirement was, or a statement of specification, and then did you provide exactly, to avoid the very same problem that now you come in and when you start doing the job, you can't fulfill the job because you don't have money. Okay. After you get paid now, you start increasing prices all of a sudden. So that means it works again for procurement as an audit finding to say this supplier was awarded this bid at $1 million, but now in 6 months they are at 3 million. You see, or a year. So it's an audit finding, so then that means we're not fair. So it goes back to the process that the one who priced for what you asked for was not considered. That becomes a red flag, you see. So it's a ripple effect. So that is one of the biggest challenges, not pricing correctly.
Okay, so if I want to make sure I don't fall for that, one thing would be to look at all the things in the scope and tick one by one.
So the challenge is another challenge. Yeah. Some entrepreneurs don't know how to interpret the scope. They read it as they think it, not to look at it holistically. So if the tender is saying, can you supply maybe 10,000 water bottles to 3 sites, right? And we need it within a certain period of time. And that's it. That's probably what the scope will say.
Yeah.
And they give you a whole problem statement, long problem statement and evaluation. But they don't guide on how you will price, right? So you need to think, if I'm supplying 10,000 bottles, firstly, where am I getting my bottles?
The bottles.
What drives my price? Okay. What are bottles made up of? So if you're going to get it as a finished product from a wholesaler or from a manufacturer, they're two different. Yeah. So now already you must know your value chain is affected by the price that you're going to be also
and the profit margins.
And the profit margins. If the packaging, you're going to be doing the packaging, that means they have to price for the packaging. Some give you now bottles with the packaging, okay? So you see, and then there's transport involved. Some forget to price for transport, or they underprice for transport.
Especially when there's different sites.
Yes. Then they don't ensure that they also include things related to the risk of petrol increase, change of raw materials, price increases. They don't forecast better, And now, fine, you quote for, let's say, 10,000, including your profit margin. Is your profit margin on the overall 10,000, or is your profit margin on each item? That's another thing that it's not considered. So my profit
margin should be on each of them, ideally.
Well, it depends what the strategy is as a business, right? If it is going to be on an overall one as your strategy, remember in pricing business, there's different types of pricing strategies that you apply, right? So if it's going to be on volume based, but then the client's not going to order the entire 10,000 at once, that means your price is going to be affected now when you start doing business.
I get you.
You see, so if your profit is lumps into the 10,000, you put 15% markup, then the client orders only 1,000 the first, and you were given minimum order by your supplier or manufacturer, minimum order of 5,000 so much. That means you've already lost now your discount. Now it's affected your commission / then you end up not making enough. You see. And then there's also the after-sales service, which also is part of pricing. What happens with the recycling? What happens with maintaining this? What happens with all of those things? So depending what is the service that you're bidding for. So those are just the elements.
One of the things that entrepreneurs don't price for is what they will have to do after in service and support or maintenance.
The whole price, so what we call total cost of ownership, the total cost of owning this item. That's how you need to price it. And that's what procurement looks into. They don't look at, 10,000 delivered to so many sites and that's it. It's a total cost of owning this. What happens now if there is maybe an issue, some of them are broken and they want to return them? You didn't account for that, right, in terms of returns or issues and how do you price for. So it's creating those scenarios when you are submitting your pricing.
Okay, that's beautiful. So that's two challenge mistakes.
Oh, the other one is like very minor but prevalent as well, which is errors related to document signing.
Submitting the wrong things as well.
And not just doing the thorough check. Because some of the departments are very particular and pedantic when it comes to you didn't maybe do a non-applicable on this page of declaration of interest, which you didn't. Because of that, you are disqualified or you are required. You're not going to look at it. It is non-responsive bid, or you didn't sign one part, or, you forgot to attach something you're supposed to. And sometimes they have calculation errors. You can see that your calculation at the end, maybe your total price is, let's say, 2.5 million. But then where you're supposed to create a big breakdown, they don't tally, those type of mistakes.
What's your advice there to the entrepreneurs?
They have to have a checklist. So some tender documents have a checklist.
That's a nice one.
Right? Some tender documents, they'll say, here's a checklist. But I think yourself as a business, you must add that control, right? A business control. You have a checklist. Each section, I did a video on TikTok at the time that for you not to be overwhelmed with tenders, you must look at the tender document in 5 principles, right? Or ways to say, did I cover the terms and conditions? Did I understand? Did I sign, right? Did I look at the evaluation criteria? Am I happy with what I've provided answering the evaluation criteria? Did I then, look at the BE requirements? Did I, submit accordingly? My compliance document, are they all, you need to have it in your head. What is your check? And then you're good to go.
Okay, that's beautiful. By the way, you can follow her on TikTok. You'll find a whole lot more that you're sharing here.
Yes.
I'm plugging you.
I'm also on YouTube, by the way, where I give long-form education.
Long-form education.
Yeah.
Okay, which will be an extension of the masterclass. So that's beautiful. We'll put the link in the description. All right, so what would you then say are misconceptions that you've come across? You don't have to go through the entire list. You can have like 2.
Well, let's burst the bubble. The biggest misconception is that you only get tenders through brown envelopes.
That's a big one.
That's the biggest one. Biggest misconception, right? Most people think, I just need to know Lerato, I just need to buy them lunch and then I'll get it. That is not the truth, okay? That's something else, but that is just a big misconception. If you had to think how many business in South Africa exist, big corporates, medium-sized to small, just excluding government, right? And then you look at all the government institutions. There's a document that they publish every year. At least they try and update it. Schedule 1, Schedule 2, 3 companies, local municipalities. Can you just imagine how many tenders that each and every organization is running?
The system.
They don't have to all be public. Like private sector doesn't advertise publicly.
Yeah.
So you can just imagine how many tenders are there. And there's definitely no way. All these billions of rands, people are paying, brown envelopes.
That corrupt.
No, absolutely not. So that is the biggest misconception. And I think sometimes it comes about being in the space and having to have conversations with some of these business owners. It's because of lack of knowledge. You just want to quickly get someone to do it for you. Or think that I can quickly try and find someone to connect to this. But that's also not a sustainable way of doing business. Part of the business strategy you would know is to create sustainable business strategy and competitive advantage strategy. So business owners don't focus on what is my competitive advantage strategy, what is my sustainable business. To go beyond 5 years, between 5 years and 10 years, what am I going to do to remain, to go over 10, 20? So if you're going to be applying that mindset, you'll definitely not be in business for too long.
Okay, that's a beautiful one. And I like your answer to this misconception, because all you're saying is the pool is so wide, it's so big, and the country is not that corrupt.
I mean, look, there are case laws, there are this, that. But in the bigger scheme of things, you need to sometimes think about the unconventional ways. Firstly, let's think about this. There are just to drive around in Joburg, Sandton, like the hub. How many restaurants exist?
Thousands.
Premium restaurants even, right? Those premium restaurants, they all have head offices. They're managed by a group company. And those group companies, they're doing procurement. How do you even think that if I go and look for, let's say I want to find out facilities management, brawl, right? They have many clients that they're handling facilities management services to an asset management. And you think, how do I enter and be part of their value chain so I can supply, I can be a vendor, I can add value? Very few people who think like that.
You know what I'm thinking as you're saying that? Funny enough, because this misconception will sit with me, and if I ask how many of these corporates I've approached, you find it's zero.
Thank you.
And then I ask the people that told me this thing, how many did they approach? All of them didn't approach any. So
they won't even come to 10. Trust and believe, they will not even, they'll say, yeah. You know why? I said on radio the other day, right? It's a single side story. We've only heard and we are running with one side of the story that no one has ever actually checked the other side. What we all know from what the media has shared and what they obviously are supposed to share is to, talk about these news that are not right and corruption, right? And it is right. But then no one has taken time to talk about the good things that procurement is doing. How many SMMEs are empowered through BEE, through skills development? How many programs are issued? Companies are working tirelessly to ensure every single year they spend a particular percentage of their net profit after tax for enterprise development, right? I know, Grandpa, the Hill, they have a tuck shop program they run every single year. And they give each and every location identified, they must spend 250,000 there. Okay. And they go in there, look for those, township businesses. For 2 weeks, you're in a program, but no one will write about those stories.
I didn't
because
know
there isn't
about
much. Yes, right? There isn't much spoken about, and it's a good thing. And there are many other that we have seen, other corporates that do well with ESG and doing those sustainability practices, which is part of this. And that is channeled through procurement. But what you only know is just this one side of the story, what the politics are saying, what. But yourself, as someone who's sitting at home, minding your own business and your own pocket, you must just think, if I go to Pick and Pay, I have a solution and I propose, you might be taking pillar to post, but at some point you'll get to the right place. And that is the work that black entrepreneurs don't want to do, some of them, to qualify,
And it's good to go to these guys because they'll basically give you free coaching. When they give you that checklist that says this is why you're not qualifying.
Yeah. Can I tell you something as well? In fact, big companies, including medium-sized, they are struggling to meet their BEE targets because they don't know where to find these vendors, to be honest. Funny enough.
Vendors that are compliant.
The very same entrepreneurs that are saying, there's corruption. They actually want you, but they don't know where to find you. So where then do you position yourself to be found?
That's
another topic, mindset. Right? So with BEE targets, each and every year it gets harder and harder for corporates to meet making sure they're buying from black-owned, black female-owned, from youth, including disability. Almost every company struggles to meet the targets for disability. And there are people who, have some form of impairment and they are normal people. But remember the government says you must empower them. Yeah. But where do we find them? I only know of a couple that have come to me as well, say, I fix laptops, I do this. But guess what? You are needed. But where do you find them?
They don't know how to find
So that's why now they end up just publishing on e-tenders, and whoever just wants to apply, they will. But in the bigger scheme of things, they're not meeting the targets. But if you knew how to position yourself to meet those targets, which is the education I offer, then you will be plugged in very easy into these corporates. But most of us don't want to do the work. That's the thing.
All right. I think this one is covered. Someone will have benefited from this one.
Yeah.
What would you say is the second misconception?
I would say the lowest price bid wins.
Oh, yeah. You
that one.
This one.
I know you like that one.
Yeah, I like that one.
That's a big misconception that the lowest bidder gets awarded, the bid. That is
lowest bid always wins.
Always wins. I mean, the reason, or rather, what motivates a supplier to win the bid It is you as a service provider bidding, you have scored the highest in all the requirements, then you awarded the bid. It's not because of the price.
It's not the price in isolation, yeah?
Yes. So in isolation, yeah. It's a combination of other things that are needed. So that's what happens. But sometimes there are instances where some service providers, they are on par. So which now you're probably the same. Now you don't know what to do. So what happens then, you go now drill down to BEE and the price. Just okay, who then was the cheapest? You score more higher, and then what is your BEE level? Your price must still be low, but your BEE might suck. And the one with the better BEE, they will make sure they award to the one with the higher BEE. Because the problem I said to you, there's still a whole lot of big gap to meet the targets. 'Cause remember, if you don't meet the targets as a company, you can get fined by the BEE commissioner. So now who wants to get fined? So you rather deal with price. So it is an important aspect, but it's not a decision maker in tendering.
So what you should focus on is getting the bid right in all the other elements as
And
well.
your BEE.
And your BE. And general compliance, like the basics.
Yes.
That's a nice one. All right, so when you look at people that have come to you for advice, can you share one or two success stories that touch your heart?
Yeah.
People that came and said thank you.
Let me talk about this one because it's very recent. The lady who could not price her services well, and I had to assist her because she was just coming in under, just like let's say you're operating this podcast.
Yeah.
And then booking fee maybe is 1,000 rand per hour. And now a big corporate say, hey, you want to come and shoot an advert. How much is the booking fee? Your thinking is like, oh, okay, at least I have maybe 1.2 or 1.5. Because I know that I'm here, there's this, there's that, and that. And that's not how you should be looking at it, right? So that's how she was looking at the whole pricing to say, I'm the director, I can set up the camera, I can do this, I can do that. And that's not how you should be looking at it. It's that what is the cost of the studio fee itself? What is the cost of booking for equipment? What is the cost of editing? How long is it going to take? And now we had to debunk it like that. And then come up with the proper pricing. And at the end, it was probably 5 times what you used to charge. And
5 times? You raised the price 5 times?
Exactly. And then they had to price it accordingly. And the client said yes, because that's how you should be pricing. And they got the offer, so which was really nice to say like, wow, thank you. Now I know how to price myself because I was undercharging the entire time. You know, because we just think as an owner, I can do this, I can do that. I mean, I can do my own makeup. But that doesn't mean when I price for these things, I should account because it is cost. I'm buying it, right?
Is,
And I'm saving if I'm doing it myself. But then in the event that I can't, I must be hiring someone to come and do it. So where's the money going to come from? So it's like one of those
That's a
things.
nice take on this.
Yeah.
All right, so second one. And I love this one, by the way. So in the masterclass, do you talk to businesses individually to help them with pricing, or you group them and do case studies to show them how you treat a typical tender?
So I do one-on-one coaching, but that I've also realized it's a problem, right? Because some people, they don't come ready. They just want to solve a thing that must take you a year in one session or in 2 sessions. If we are doing business assessment, you would know. You don't have this, you don't have that. You need to go and sort out compliance, sort out that. Come back next session, which is 4 weeks from now. We look at that. Some just get very impatient in the process and think that I really want to just get a bid. You can't get a bid in one session. So, but also because of the demand, I then decided, let me just do workshops and masterclasses where I focus on beginner-friendly, intermediate, and what are the different topics that we can cover. So that's how then I run these masterclasses and workshops, which are also available on my website. Depending on your needs, then we just focus on your needs and I deliver, and that's it.
Okay. Beautiful. Second success story.
Second success story. Yo,
Give
you
us
know,
one good one.
I because I don't document much, right?
Yeah.
Which you told me I must start doing.
Please.
I must start doing. I think the other time I was live on TikTok, and I asked the people, actually, how many of you have used this content I teach, and what has it done for you? Some actually were surprising to say, Lerato, I managed to get a RFQ. I listened to your videos, and now I knew what I was not doing right. Thank you so much. This is really helpful. Oh, I didn't understand what this means. Now I get it, you know. So there are those
so
people
they're
who
saying they didn't understand what some of the terms in the documents meant.
Now they do.
Just referred to your free content even.
Free content. And some did say they got an order, right? I must just check who it is, but it's like, wow, this is amazing. And other people just generally won't say, but I know that they are getting help. You know, I get a lot of inboxes also on my Instagram saying, wow, you're such a blessing to the nation. Finally, here's an interesting one.
Be nice.
Yeah, someone said the other day, this information people have been hiding for so long. And we've been wanting it, and someone is finally telling us, thank you so much, at least now we're enlightened and we know. And you know what is this whole thing doing?
Yeah.
You will see over time, if more of us can do what I'm doing, other procurement in other industries, like, you know, maybe in the mining, agricultures and other sectors, if they can do this and teach more, you'll find there's actually going to be very a reduction in corruption.
Corruption and the mistakes as well.
And the mistakes.
Because I feel like sometimes there are entrepreneurs that would qualify, but because they just make some silly mistakes, they get eliminated.
Yes, they get eliminated. Mining is, burdened by the number of errors and people not pricing correctly. You know, and they don't know, to be honest. Remember, I said to you that because procurement doesn't take you on a journey to educate.
They just evaluate what you
submitted. So you're expected to pass and have a certificate of first time, and no one enrolled you for the course, right? To say, how do we do this? And that's unfortunately, the sad part about the whole process. But I think the solution is here. Over time, I'm hoping we can grow bigger and better.
All right. Should I hire a consultant to help me prepare a bid? If the tender is, let's say, over $1 million, for example, and they say, submit a proposal.
So the answer is going to be in two ways. You can look for a consultant that knows what they're doing. If you don't have the time as a business owner or the required skill, and you believe this person has. But you must also check that how many companies have existed and won in the process. Because you'll be taking out money, people doing work for you, and they don't understand your business like you do.
Sure.
And then, you never win. Because it's a risk-based model. There's no qualification that says you will get it just because someone is preparing it for you. There are companies that are doing that. So I am against that because you are not empowered. If they do that and they do skills transfer, it's better. So that someone in your team or yourself, in the absence of them being there, you'll be able to do it yourself. And what happens if you can't afford to pay them and you really need to participate in this bid? You are not empowered, right? Yeah.
So next bids, you'll keep having to pay someone else again.
Yeah. So rather you know how to do it, because the thing about procurement and tenders is if you are doing a particular business, let's say you're in construction.
Yeah.
And you prepare a bid once and you know what you're doing. The next one, you're going to be doing 20% of the additions or amendments. You already know your strategy. You already have your documents in place. You just look at this client, what are they looking for that's different from that other one. Okay. You package it differently.
So once you've built, you sort of have templates, working templates.
Yes, you build your own framework.
Each time.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it. I love it. What do you think is the difference, though? Maybe let's encourage entrepreneurs as well in this. There is a difference between public sector and private sector. What's the difference, and what should small businesses think about as well when it comes to the two opportunities?
Okay, so the major difference is that public sector procurement advertises publicly, and they are mandated to ensure that people know about the opportunity. Okay, and the evaluation system is the same. Okay. So it is policy regulation driven. So everyone can refer to what National Treasury has advertised and they have said in their regulation, what the regulator has said, and that's it. So that is the nice thing about public sector. The private sector, then each private company has their own procurement policy and framework. So Deloitte won't have the same as KPMG, won't have the same as Accenture, if I'm just talking firms, really.
Yeah.
Including legal firms. So MTN won't have the same as what Vodacom has.
Okay.
So that is also the beautiful part about it, because now they can decide based on our type of business, we can provide our service in this way. But what the interesting thing is that they also look at what the government have published, and they try and look for similarities, because
so they're not too far.
Yeah, not too far. So the good thing, government provides guidelines that then the private sector is not obligated to follow, but they can use as a guideline and to tweak on what works for their business.
Okay.
So it's not going to be far out. Now the difference is, private sector, they don't publicly advertise because it's expensive. They have to choose. They don't have one system that caters for the entire nation, right? So because of their procurement policy, they decide who participates in the tender that is less than 1 million, 2 million, whatnot. So they also have to have their own governance and controls, that get signed at different levels.
Okay.
But then they have their policy in that guide. So it's not publicly advertised. And the other major difference is those things related to evaluation. What do they add as evaluation? What do they remove? With public sector, it's clear. You don't even negotiate with a vendor if it's either not above your budget. With private sector, you have to negotiate, even during the tender.
Okay.
Public sector, you don't negotiate during tender until you've awarded. Maybe you can look at it, right? Private sector, if it's not meeting, anyone can go and negotiate. We can look at for documents that you forgot about. We can clarify. You didn't attach this thing. Is it there? So there's that.
So it's a lot more flexible than government.
Government says, you didn't provide it. The policy says, the policy says.
You didn't sign here.
You didn't sign here. Yeah. But private sector, they're like very more lenient because it's supposed to enable the business. We're not married to the process. So there are a lot of differences, but for someone who can follow through, those are the easy ones. And then another one I just want to mention, I think it is the pre-qualification criteria is very different. Remember, private sector have to protect their own reputation with everything that they have. So business reputation, reputational damage is something they don't want to deal with. So the onboarding process is very extensive. The checks, third-party checks, yourself as a director, and the business itself, which government doesn't invest much in doing that type of, because of, I guess, maybe the funds and the capacity of tenders are dealing with. So for you to pre-qualify to do business with them, most of them go through that rigorous check.
Okay. Yeah, you broke it down nicely. So I think every small business listening, you can tell now, because a lot of us, like we said earlier, are making the conclusion that tendering is difficult and frustrating, and most of the time it's based on the experience of other people, not even us, with public sector. But there's also private sector. And you said earlier, entrepreneurs can reposition themselves so that they can be found. What's one tip you have for how they should position themselves for private sector?
They must go knock on the doors.
Knock on doors. As many as you can.
Many as. Obviously, firstly, you must prepare your business to be ready, because unfortunately most entrepreneurs, they're also not ready. They want opportunities, but they're not ready. And what I found in terms of readiness, I talk about, have you profiled your business? Do you know how to talk about your business if you're introducing it to me and you? What are you going to say about your business? And you have, where can we find you? What have you done that's going to be easier for you to put as a point of reference? Do you have a social media handle? Do you have a website? Do you have profile that you can show in the absence of a website? Like what have you done that shows your branding? This is who you are, this is what you're doing. And it was confidently, so talk about it. So then when you go and knock on doors and say, hey, this is what I do, I'd like to have an opportunity, I want to be part of the prospective vendors, I focus on women-owned, I do this, I do that. You see, it's clear. Then if you knock on 5 doors, I'm sure one will open.
Okay.
Or one will say, okay, we'll look at it when opportunity comes. And they will come for it because they do need a lot of this. And read up, right? Check which industries need more black businesses at this level, which more need this type of services. And then you position
your
yourself.
services and products that you're selling as well.
Yes. And attend these workshops that we do. Attend these business seminars that are happening. Because it is in those spaces you will definitely find access to where you want to get to. One person that knows someone that will talk about an opportunity earlier on, and then you're aware of it. So some of them, they're just sitting, relying on the internet only, relying on, whatever social media only. It's not always the case. Sometimes, I told you the other time, you have to buy into the network.
What did you mean by that? That sounds like a deep statement.
That is a powerful statement.
It sounds so deep.
I call it buy into the network because if you attend, let's say, a business seminar, they are maybe focusing on branding or funding or business growth or whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. You need to establish strategic relationships, which is part of the tools in offering a great marketing, platform for you.
Yeah.
So you need to establish strategic relationships as a business to grow. Remember, tendering is business development. It's an avenue for business development. There's also sales that you must still do and find how you're going to sell your items and make it known.
Yeah.
And then there's this relationship, networking, and collaboration, which is the strategic nature to what positions your business to be at. Ne? Mm-hmm. So it's either you will buy into the network, meaning if you're going to attend these services and these platforms and workshops, you will create relationships with someone who's doing what you're doing, maybe better. They have networks with other people that can connect you to where you want to get to.
So get in the system.
Get in the system, get into the network. Someone said this before, that if you look at the CEOs in South Africa, some of the CEOs, most of them probably have an MBA from Gibbs. Right.
Yeah.
Or an MBA from Stellenbosch, or But if you check, it's either Stellenbosch, Wits, or Gibbs, right? Mm-hmm. And why? And also, if you check, which high school do they all go to?
Okay.
Most of them are connected in one way or another.
One way or the other, they met somewhere.
Yes. So it is now buying into the network that you are getting access, opportunities. You are also strategically positioning yourself for the relationships. Like any other business, some of them would need an ambassador. It is a strategic relationship. Who are you going to need to partner with to get you where you need to get to? So these sessions, apart from you coming to learn, you might know how to price, but Lerato might be doing a pricing workshop. But Ntando is coming, who is a business coach from where you don't know Ntando's network. And while you are there, you may hear of opportunity that you were never going to know about because you were at home. But now you are there. Or you are now part of the mailing list at which when you submit things, now you know. You see? So it is that you don't know you need it until you come back from it. That's what Davey says.
That's a nice one.
Yeah.
Last question from me. What's the difference between bids where I get shortlisted and called to come and pitch, and those that I don't come and pitch and present my proposal? And if I am called to pitch, what are like one or two tips you have to help me prepare?
So different industries apply different ways of pitching, right? Mm-hmm. So in the creative space, marketing, they call it pitch process. You come and pitch your business.
Right off the start?
It depends. Some of them invite you, whether it's marketing agencies, the creative artwork and media and whatnot. If it's not done through procurement, it becomes a pitch. Okay? But then you still need to come to procurement at some point for you to be loaded and part of the vendor. And then you might have to undergo similar process again, which is another story for another day.
Yeah.
But now, when you're doing tenders, is either you've seen an opportunity, you want to participate publicly, or you received an email from a particular company, which you're probably part of the database, to invite you to tender. I don't know, it depends on the industry, like I said, but it's for different reasons. Because after you pitch, usually what happens?
Okay. Well, if they I think my understanding of it is because you're shortlisted, maybe there's 20 of you that applied and the top 3 get selected, and they're trying to make a decision on these 3, and they say, come and present.
Okay, so let me...
That's my understanding, so you can correct me from there.
Yeah, let me qualify. If you went through a tender process, you submitted your bid, and then part of the evaluation includes doing a pitch.
Also,
that's something else.
Okay.
Not just going to do a pitch with a particular agency without responding to a tender. That's different. But if it is within the framework of a tender process, part of the evaluation stages, that's what we call. It's either a presentation or a pitch or site visit. come and view where you're at and what's happening. That is fine. So during the pitch, then it is usually limited to the shortlisted vendors. Okay. And the reason for the pitch is to, tell us what you've told us on paper. Now we want to see it, right? And just take us through it. But there's also evaluation that is set for that one will be looking at while you're doing the pitch. Because some people they do copy and paste paperwork. Back to the who did the consultancy. If someone did it for you and you can't say it in a pitch, it will be very much obvious.
You'll be exposed there.
Yes.
All right. So how do I prepare myself if I've been called? I guess I'd have to go back and read what I submitted first.
No, you must come and consult for that one.
So I should look for you.
Look for me, then I can help you prepare proper for the pitch. Yeah.
All right. No, but thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. What should we look out for when it comes to you in the future?
That's a good question. I mean, we're obviously growing. I think we're growing as a network and a family of business owners that are interested in growing their business through understanding how procurement wants things and dealings. So for me, what you can look forward to is a whole lot more of other masterclasses, collaboration with other experts in the space that deal with other sectors. I want to incorporate, some content related to other sectors. I think also I need to finish a book, like a guideline, right? A tender guide, because some people can attend, some are far. It's not always practical. So I also want to have a living document that you can have with you that I've started. I just need to finish it. Okay. And then maybe can help me with the PR.
Do you have commitments and dates?
This year, it has to be done this year.
Don't you have online courses? Or it's something you've never considered?
I don't know if online courses work. People have very short attention span.
Is it?
Yeah, I think it's a particular generation that believes in that. But the upcoming entrepreneurship now, I don't think online courses is going to go very far. They don't have the time for it. They don't have the time. It's either you do video or you take them through in a class and then they ask and you're done, right? Or you have that book that you're saying, this is what it is. So I want to have like a workbook of a combination of that, including lots of these things. For you when you're home, you can be like a listening to Lerato. But you're actually looking at it, right? So yeah, that's what I am going to be working on for the next coming months. And more events, because I think we need it. People need to connect with the right people. Okay. I'm trying to connect entrepreneurs with the right people, which is our funders, because business funding is another big problem. After you get the order, you don't know where to get money to fulfill the order.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to create the holistic
a big problem. That's why a lot of profit is lost.
Yes.
Because I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs win tenders and not have the money to execute.
Yes. And to service the client
get
now.
Taken for a ride.
Now they get taken for a ride, and what procurement does, they will go and appoint the second best and remove you on site and look for someone else, right? So to resolve those kind of problems, what I'm now also trying to do is to link the very same ones that I'm saying, win, win, win. After you win, what do? So you need to have reliable business funders that look into supporting SMMEs or, guys who need purchase order funding, invoice funding, or even working capital, right, to service your own business to ensure that in the case where you're waiting for an invoice, they're delayed, but you have people to pay, you have things to run, you have this stock to buy in preparation for that one. Where do you get money? So I'm having a lot of now funders coming in to support. So we create a holistic ecosystem.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you will be our plug.
Proper. But it's not for free, eh?
No, I would expect it to be.
Some people expect it to be for free, no?
Is it?
Yes. And unfortunately, it's such a lot of work that you put in, and it's so sad. But if you want free stuff, you really need to look into grant funding.
And it's there.
It's there.
Because if you travel around Africa, one of the things you'll see is there is a big difference between the support that South African government gives to entrepreneurs and what's happening in the rest of Africa, because you will run back home.
You will run. Yeah. No, here, honestly speaking, it's a little bit easier. But the other challenge is, where do people know about this information? I think that's another thing my platform is doing. I'm also trying to ensure that it becomes a platform for knowing where to find what. Maybe over time I will take it out of social media so it's a platform on its own.
Okay.
Right? Yeah, to create that linkage. So
Well, I found you on social media and you've done really well there. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And may the growth be your portion.
amen. So I am Lerato Sebata on all social media platforms.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of them. That is YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
No.
Check it out. If you're an entrepreneur and this is an area that you want to introduce or excel in, she is a powerful resource for entrepreneurs, and she is coming free on social media, not so free outside social media.
So funny.
Susam, thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And thank you. See you in the next episode. Cool stuff.